isn't it time to fucking revive this channel? Yes, it's been 12 days. I'm going to mention where I've been at the end of the video, but let's talk about it. Honkai Star Rail 3.0. Grab your energy drink, grab a cup of coffee, grab some milk, grab whatever the fuck, and sit down and let's have a chat, because I am not... 3 days ago I finished this update and I've just been collecting my thoughts, because usually I would just make a video straight away, but I've been collecting my thoughts on it because I'm very mixed on this update. Do I think this update is bad? Yes, I do. I think this update is bad. Do I think there is good in this update? Yes, I do. But the bad is more than the good. And that just seems like the case now with Star Rail, is that the bad is just outweighs the good. And for months and months I've said this in previous Star Rail videos, if they do not change something about their storytelling, people will flip. Guess what? People have flipped. Because even in Facial's update, even though I personally loved Facial's update, it had issues, I will agree with that. But every other character story since, or every single story since, like rappers, who else have we had? Rappers, Sunday, shit like that, has had good core story stuff, but has been annoying to get through. For example, Rapper Story Quest, I think her backstory was really cool, but the way they implemented that with like the whole monkey banana shit was fucking dumb. That shit was insane. I loved the parts with Rappers and Boot Hill's backstory. I hated everything else. Same with Sundays and Ting Yun's thing. I think that story was better than the Rapper one, but I don't think mixing those two characters together was the good idea. I think it should have been you do Ting Yun first or Sunday first and then go off that. But now we're at 3.0 and Furious, I think I'm saying that right. This is just, it's weird because personally I think at its core, the lore they try to tell and the lore they tell in the story about the Titans and stuff is really interesting, and the way they have these like characters that become gods or inheriting Titans' powers. Like you've got Alagia or Angelica, whatever, the blonde haired girls that's basically blind. You've got the Gilgamesh looking character. I'm forgetting people's names because generally majority of the characters in this shit are kind of forgettable. I'm going to keep it a but yeah, I think the characters are quite cool and I like the designs, because I think Angelica or Alagia, that's it, her character model in game is gorgeous. I think they do such a good job with the character models, and I think they are leveling up now for the character models, which is great, and I love to see it. But still, if that was the only good part of this update, it's whatever. Because I think the character designs in this update is probably my favourite Star Rail has been in a while, because like I said in the Facial and Rapper video I made, those two characters have been my favourite design characters ever since like Penacony finished. I think every other character has just looked whatever, I guess. These characters in this region look really cool. Like, I love the way the Death chick looks. I love her design. I also love Alagia's design. I think she reminds me a lot of if you guys watch Danmachi and you know Freya, her design reminds me a lot of Freya. But yeah, this is where we're going to get into the bad. So spoilers for 3.0 story and everything in 3.0. At its core, story has so many issues. And I'm not even going to hesitate. This story has so many issues that needs to be dealt with in the next patch. Because I'm going to be 100% with you. Arc 2 of the story, where you're with the Death chick and you're following around the Spartan NPC, I generally did not care for that segment. I generally didn't. Because not being funny, if you're trying to make the character memorable, if you're trying to make something mean something, you give them a good design. You make sure they are important enough and make sure you care for the character, because that is just basic storytelling. In this case, guess what they do? They put an NPC, they strap a Spartan helmet on, and they just say, oh yeah, this is an important character, you're going to spend 3 hours with him doing fucking puzzles. I don't give a fuck. This is the one thing I will say as well. Honkai Star, stop with the fucking puzzles. You're not Resident Evil, bro. I ain't going to spend 3 hours on a fucking puzzle. I don't give a fuck. And this is the one thing I will say about HSR, and I'm going to get to it later on, but the transition between, we're going to be off topic here from story to gameplay to something, the transition between gameplay and storytelling in Star Rail is horrendous. It needs to be fixed. Because not being funny, that is my main complaint for Star Rail, and I think it's like that for the whole game. Your transition between bloated dialogue to puzzles to gameplay And the gameplay, usually, if you've got good characters, you do it in like a few seconds. So, like, not being funny, that needs to be sorted out. Because you can't just have puzzles that take almost like fucking 10 minutes to do, to bloated more fucking shit storytelling, to fucking 3 seconds of gameplay. Like, what the fuck? And it is horrendous the way they do that, and it needs to be fixed. But anyway, back to the story. But yeah, I think the core, the story, the lore they try to tell with the Titans and stuff is good. But if you don't know anything about like Greek mythology, because this is what this planet's based off, you don't know what the fuck they're talking about. For example, they mentioned Thanatos in the story. If you don't know who Thanatos is, he's the Greek god of death, basically. Or the keeper of death, I can't remember exactly. And it's absurd that they just expect you to know who this is. Oh yeah, we're going to put, oh yeah, the Death's Hand, or the Titan of Death, or something above their name. Like, that helps. Give us an image, give us a representation of what they look like in the story. They do that with the Aeons. When they appear, they give that whole fucking animation shit. Do the same with these Titan things. I mean, know what they look like and what they're like, what the whole thing aspect of them are. It's insane that they can just implement the slightest changes and they can fix so many issues. For example, another thing I think they need to change about storytelling is the way they present the story. Because, not being funny, I think the core elements of storytelling is presentation and storytelling. It's just the two things. Oh, and world building as well, but that goes into storytelling. They are the two things that you need directly in storytelling. If you have bad presentation, no one's going to give a fuck about your story. If you have bad storytelling, no one's going to give a fuck about your presentation. So you need them both together for them to work. And guess what? There are 2 games right now. Oh, 3 I play, but 2 gacha games, big gacha games that do it really well. Wonder Waves and Xenosaga Zero. I'm not even caught up on Xenosaga Zero, but I can already tell you the storytelling is more consistent and the presentation is way better than Honkai Star Rail. You do this in your other game. How is it so hard to implement in a game that literally should be focused on its story? Because I'm going to keep it 100. Turn-based games are very niche. So the Hoyoverse trilogy, you've got a game that focuses on gameplay, a game that focuses on open world, and a game that should focus on their story. Honkai Star Rail should focus on their storytelling and everything the most. That should be coming first before anything else. Because not being funny, who gives a fuck about walking around finding chests in the world? This isn't Wandering Ways where you can go around fighting enemies on the street or some shit. This is a turn-based game where you have to physically go into combat, and you're usually in the combat, if you don't have bad builds or anything, for at least 10 minutes. It's absurd. So yeah, I do think they need to fix their presentation. Their presentation for the story and the storytelling needs to be fixed, because it is horrendous. It is horrid in this update, and it really feels like burnout. I'll be honest, it feels like filler. Like, half of the stuff, I were to cut the whole story in half by a massive chunk, 90% of that chunk will be filler. You don't need that dialogue if it's filler. Anyway, moving on to the characters. I think the characters in this update are quite intriguing, actually. I think they've been the most interested I've been in Star Rail characters for a minute. Because I'm going to be 100%. In Penacony, there were like 5 characters I cared about. Acheron, Firefly, and Firefly, they were like the only 2 I really gave a shit about. Everybody else was just kind of, yeah, whatever, I guess. Because that's the thing with Penacony. Everybody was excited about Robin. I generally did not care for Robin. I still stand by that. I don't care for Robin. I think her character had potential, but they just squandered it. And that's the thing I feel like they're going to do now, is that if we do not get a big impactful moment in this story quest, no one's going to give a fuck. Because, not being funny, there is no stakes anymore. When we went to fucking Belobog, there was a stake. We got impaled by a lance. We didn't think we was going to survive. And then we went through the actual cycle of that space shit and learning how we survived, and grabbed the lance off the chest and obviously used that shit. In the Lafu, nobody fucking died. Well, Tingyun died and then she came back, but I will get to that later. But and then in fucking Penacony, nobody died. Aventurine should have fucking died in that story, and I think everybody should have known that. I don't get why the fuck he's alive. He basically got cut with nihility. Didn't die. Make that make sense. But yeah, I think right now the characters in 3.0 are interesting. I'm interested in the characters more than the story. I love Alagia's character. I love how she's elegant but also got this like demeanor about her. I love that. But yeah, I want to see how they handle the characters. If they handle the characters well, I might be interested in the story a bit more, but right now the characters are the only driving good part for the story for me. I love the whole character designs, I've already mentioned that, but I love it. The one thing I do want to say though is Star Rail might be suffering from an issue I think Genshin suffered with, is the cast. They have now added 2 members to the Extra Express, which is Sunday and Black Swan. Black Swan's not an official member, but she's with us. Why I say this is the issue is that if you have such a big cast, you're not going to be able to utilise all of the characters. That's just a fact. It happens a lot in like other medias. But if it comes to that point, because not being funny, March is now the main Extra Express member we're focusing on for this 3.0 update, looks like, which is good because I'm actually interested now. Himiko looks like she's going to take the back line again. This has been 3 major updates where she's been on the back burner. Well, I don't know where the fuck Well is. I think he's with Sunday, which is cool, I guess, because he's also on something important to her and shit. And Dan Hung's with us. And this is getting to the point now is there where like you've got a big cast, but if you don't utilise all the characters well, who's going to give a fuck? Because my problem is now is that, like I just listed, all the characters have been utilised, but Black Swan's the one that told us to go to this planet. She's nowhere to be found. Like, what the fuck? What's the point? What's the point? So yeah, I think they need to do a good job of handling the main cast a bit more, especially Stella, the main character. She does not feel like a main character, she feels like a back burner character. If you compare Stella to Rover, they're completely 2 characters. One actually feels like a main character, which is Rover, and Stella just feels like just a blank character in an RPG. That's what it feels like. But yeah, that also needs to be fixed. One thing I will say though, which I'm hoping they do, is we get an actual emotional moment with the character. But do I think they're going to be permanently dead? No. Because not being funny, the one thing I hate in storytelling, I hate it, unless it's done well, and in various circumstances it has been, is like there's usually something that prevents someone from properly dying. It is a thing. For example, you've got Blade, which is basically immortal, which is fine because it fits for his character, and I think that's the only thing that kind of works. You've got Dan Hong that was impaled by Blade and somehow survived when he transformed, but it worked for the story, so I don't really care. Ting Yun with her neck snapping out of nowhere, but having because she was on the land of abundance, she was able to survive. Like, what the fuck? Literally half the shit they come up with for this story is kind of bullshit. If we have an emotional moment, keep that character permanently dead. Have their banner, then kill them off. So they're playable. Because not being funny, I think everyone and their mom knows the exact character I'm going to talk about now is Singura from Genshin Impact should have been playable. She had such a cool design and she was not playable. And they killed her off. So yeah, it's going to get to that point where either they're going to kill off a character and not make them playable and everybody wants them playable, or they're going to kill off a character and bring them back. So they need some impactful moments, I think. One more thing I want to talk about is puzzles. The puzzles in this shit is absurd. I mentioned it later on. It's insane how many puzzles they put in this story. It doesn't need to happen. You don't need puzzles to make transition to gameplay really good. Just literally have enemies there. I'd rather have basic common enemies to fight while the story's going on. I'd rather do that than fucking puzzles. This game isn't Resident Evil. I don't know why you need so many fucking puzzles in a main story quest. Like, what the fuck? But yeah, like I mentioned earlier, like the 3 trilogy of Hoyoverse games just feels like there's like one gem and the rest are just falling in the shitter. You've got Genshin Impact that's been in the shitter for years, other than Fontaine and Inazuma. I know a lot of people don't really like Inazuma, but I love Inazuma personally. But everything else in Genshin is dog shit. I will not argue with anybody on that. From someone that's played the game from day one, I will say that game is shit until you get to Inazuma and until you fucking get to Fontaine, which is 100 hours in, by the way. Honkai Star Rail, Bellabug is peak. The Luffy's actually quite decent. I don't know why a lot of people just think it's bad. I think it's decent. Penacony you would have mixed opinions on it, like I do probably. And this it's a bad start to an update. It just is. And Forest 3.0, the very first patch, is bad. it isn't a good way to start the update path. And I think in the next update, I better fucking blow my socks off, or I'm gonna keep shitting on it, bro. Because I ain't gonna just hold my thoughts together. I'm just gonna say how I feel, and I've always done it. So yeah. One thing I do, there's a few things I want to mention before I go into where I've been. The 8 character banner. I know some people, I've watched online that some people think this is a good thing. It's not. It just isn't. Because what I mean by this, for example, if you have an 8 character banner, it takes, what is it, pity 18 star out? You usually have in an event a temple. If you have an 8 character banner, well, technically 9 character, well, technically 10 character banner, because you've got 2 new characters and 4 returning characters, you have usually a temple when it comes to events. If you haven't got enough Stellar Jade in events to pull for at least 2 guaranteed characters on a banner, you should not do it. Because, not being funny, these character banners fucking are predatory as fuck. And if they are not accessible, for example, if you're a free-to-play player and you cannot obtain Stellar Jade through the story because you've done it, you can't obtain Stellar Jade because you've done the world, the only other way you obtain Stellar Jade is through events and Stimulated Universe and that other thing, I forgot what it's called. If you can't obtain Stellar Jade through that because you've done it, you usually get a temple. Not being funny, if you are going to do these banners, allow people to get more Stellar Jade or get a guaranteed character on those returning banners. Because there is ways to do this good, but right now they're not doing it well. Because I think it is super predatory what they're doing, because not being funny, there's 5 characters I want on both of these banners. I want the her. If I wanted to pull for Jade to make the her viable, I would have to pull for her. And then on the phase 2, I want Aglia, Boot Hill, and Robin, because I don't have Robin. This shit is just going to encourage people to spend money, and I think if they implement more Stellar Jade into the game to allow free-to-play players and people that don't really like to spend money in the game to get these characters, I think that would be better, personally. But yeah, that's just a suggestion. Now, one thing I do want to mention is the competition now. Because, not being funny, the competition now for Star Out is huge now. Because when Star Out first released, it was a breath of fresh air. And I think everybody that played Star Out Day 1 can agree with that. Star Out was the game that people wanted Genshin to be. It just had a different style of gameplay that not a lot of people were a fan of, because turn-based is very niche. But yeah, it was the game that everybody loved. And it does better than Genshin 99% of the time, and that's not just a fact. If you look at these charts, even though they're bullshit, it does. But now there is more competition. You've got ZZZ, you've got Water and Waves, which are just... No, I won't speak on ZZZ a lot because I'm not caught up. I quit the game after I got Benise, and now I'm coming back because they've actually fixed a lot of shit. Now they've got ZZZ, which so far the storytelling has been consistent and has been really interesting from where at the point in the story I am. And Wandering Waves' storytelling is better than all of them, in my opinion. The world building, the storytelling, the exploration, the gameplay, everything in Wandering Waves is better than all the Hoyoverse trio. That's just my opinion. If you disagree, that's your opinion, whatever, I don't give a fuck. But now that competition is there, even in their own fucking company, HSR needs to pick up that game. They need to lock the fuck in and do better. Because if they keep producing this slop, so I'm going to keep it real, Hoyoverse has not got a good reputation with 3.0 updates. If you remember the last 3.0 update in Genshin, which was Sumeru, how many players quit Genshin because of Sumeru? I was one of them. I'm going to be honest, Sumeru is one of the worst updates I've ever played in a game in general. I've played thousands and thousands of games, and that is one of the worst updates I've ever played. And if going by their old track record, if they make Amphorius that bad, Honkai Star Rail is in for it. I'll just say it now. So I'm hoping they pick up they pick it up after the next update, make the story better and stuff like that. And yeah, just make it overall better, because the story right now is just like, I love the core story, but it's told tremendously bad. But yeah, before I end off the video, I want to talk about this. Honkai Star also has a nostalgia type of problem. If you don't know what I mean by that, is that they are focusing on similarities and nostalgia looking type characters. Like, for example, I forgot what the character's name is, but he looks exactly like fucking Kevin from Honkai Impact. this whole region is very similar to the flame tracers in Honkai Impact. It just is. And they're relying on that to basically try and boost sales, I guess. But one thing I will say they need to stop doing, they need to stop like copying and pasting old assets and basically reusing old characters. They need to stop doing that. Just come out with new characters. Because it's not being funny. I love the Herta. I think she's really interesting and she looks really cool. But not a lot of people give a fuck for Herta right now. And not being funny, she's one of the original Honkai Star Rail characters, and I think she's really interesting. Nobody cares because they just want returning characters on Honkai Impact. Which you can't really say is bad because Honkai Impact's characters are actually done really well. But they're trying to use those assets to just push sales, I guess. They need to stop doing that. And just come out with original characters, which are interesting. Like, it can work, you just try and make it better. But yeah, that's all I got to speak about with Honkai Star Rail 3.0. Just do better, Hoyoverse, honestly. Because it is a real shame. You've had your competition, Ordering Waves, that blew everybody out the park with their 2.0 update. Nobody that I've spoken to has given that update like lower than an 8 out of 10. Because that update is so good. Even if you're not into gacha games, that update is phenomenal. So yeah, just Star Rail, you gotta do better, bro. Like generally, you have to do better. Or you're just gonna be left behind, like everybody left Genshin behind. Because Genshin right now is still in the shitter. Nobody gives a fuck. If you like Genshin, that's you, I guess. I don't give a fuck. But enough of the video. I want to talk about where I've been. Like I put on my community tab a few days ago, I am working on a video, and this video is taking a while to edit. So I'm taking my time with it, and I haven't just abandoned the channel, for fuck's sake. I've been slowly working on a big project behind the scenes. So when that comes out, it comes out. I'm hoping to get it out before the end of the month. But if it doesn't come out before the end of the month, whatever, I guess. But yeah, I'll try to keep consistent uploads, but no promises, because literally I have a big fucking editing timeline right now I'm trying to focus on. So yeah guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Yeah, Star, I'll just do better. I'll see you in a bit. Peace.